Hello, welcome to this game review. We'll have a look at a game from the England Gambit and we'll finally figure out how to handle this bad opening. And later, of course, as usual, the chess game also started. It's not always about the opening, it's basically never about the opening. And we should understand how we can avoid mistakes that were made in this game. And so it started as this bad move on move 1. Now white is a pawn ahead for basically nothing, and of course there is some trap, there's a reason people play this. White decided to just play e4, which is also kind of fine, but the most critical is to just go for bishop f4, defending the pawn. And the black's basically only point is firstly queen b4, after which white has to retreat with his bishop to d2. Importantly, this is a fork. So the first trap is that queen d2 is impossible because of queen takes b2, and here black is winning, specifically because now the rook is attacked. So if queen c3, which is very natural, black has this move bishop b4, which wins the queen. So this is basically the only trap to know. And also, well, not the only trap to know. After bishop d2 and queen c3, queen takes b2, this is the last trap. This is the only thing to know. We cannot play the very natural move bishop to c3. The point is that after bishop b4, our bishop is pinned to the king, and in this natural move queen d2 also doesn't work because black can take, and surprisingly this is checkmate in 1. So this is basically the whole point of this gambit. So if we don't fall for this, there's really not much else to fall for. The correct way to play is bishop d2, and after black takes, to develop the knight. And at this point black is basically lost because he didn't abide the opening principles. He developed the queen too early, he didn't fight for the center. Now white is very well developed, he can also use the queen to develop the rook. He can push e4, develop the bishop as well, and white has a basically winning positional advantage if he continues playing well. So we should just go for this. We have to learn some openings by heart, a few moves. These traps are important to learn and to learn how to beat them. And in this level, a lot of people will try to win quickly like this, but it should not work. Okay, 4 is fine. Now queen b4 doesn't make sense at all. Knight c3. Now white is completely winning. He has a huge development. He has a pawn advantage. So there's not really much for black here. Now white played bishop d2, which is a bit of a strange move. There's no reason to put your bishop so passively, but okay, I think it doesn't really matter. a3 is maybe a bit more precise to get the queen away from the a4 pawn. For example, now bishop f4, maybe b4 at some point, knight d5, and start finishing development. Okay, bishop d2. And here knight f6 was played, which is again a bit incomprehensible. We should understand that there's a pawn on e5. There's really not much to see here. Black is simply giving up a piece in one move, and we have to fixate on these moments. If we are not taking pieces in one move, we should forget everything else about chess and focus on taking pieces, because all these opening things, all these positional advantages, stuff like this, they're irrelevant, because the way to win games is to take our opponent's pieces and checkmate. These are the priorities. And here white was too fixated on this queen, and he went here. This is a huge blunder because now, well, before making this move, we have to think about where the queen will move. So we have to already imagine ourselves playing this move, and then slowly ask ourselves, what are the candidate moves for black? As we can see, the queen doesn't have many squares, and one of them is e4, which is now undefended. And now white's advantage is basically gone. He is losing time, he is losing all of his pawns, and now everything has gone wrong. Instead, just take the free piece. There's really not much to see here. And we have to look for checks, captures, and attacks. White only looked for one attack, which he had in mind already. So here the game went to a different phase. White nicely developed his bishops, so again white is getting a nice advantage. Here knight f5 is a bit early, but okay. Bishop c5 was played. Black should have exchanged this bishop. This was the only chance, objectively. But the reason this is a blunder is not entirely obvious. White had this very nice combination, which is a bit typical for these bishops. While black is undeveloped, white can start a big attack with knight g7. And the point is, black cannot actually recapture because of specifically queen to g4 check. Using this spin, the queen is not hanging. The king, well, if it goes here, this is basically checkmate. And if it goes to h8, the point is firstly queen h4. And there's no one to defend this f6 knight. For example, here we can take, and after king g7, queen g5, and this is checkmate. Black will have to give up the queen. So this is a nice combination, a nice pattern to know when these bishops are looking at the king side. But king h1 was played, which is kind of a useless move. There's no reason to move the king here. If white can't see this tactic, which is understandable, we should at least look for some kind of useful move. For example, by developing the queen. Black will have to play d5 to open his position, and from here the play goes on. But okay, king h1, now d6 was played. Black can play d5 here, which attacks the knight and the bishop, so white should go here. And now black can get rid of the attacking pieces, and here black is fine, he is a pawn up. White doesn't really have an attack, and it all came down to one move, king h1. Okay, here bishop f6 is a big blunder. Again, at this point, both players don't really see what captures are available. At this point, white can get a winning advantage in a few ways. The most simple is to give this check and take on f6, ruining the structure, and then continuing to attack the very weak king while the pieces are here. Next move might be bishop d3, and checkmate should be quite imminent. But bishop f6, the problem with this is black doesn't have to recapture. He can take this knight while developing the pieces. Now this bishop is hanging. Black's king is quite safe with the bishop potentially on g6, and black is doing well. Instead, black didn't recapture anything. Of course, the point is this cannot be taken because of checkmate on g7, but this has to be seen. Again, black didn't see all the possible captures. He took on f2, which is very irrelevant. At this point, white could just checkmate by threatening checkmate, queen g4. Again, attacks, threats of checkmate, we have to consider them. And this is just checkmate on the next move, either with queen g7 or with the knight here or here. And the knight and bishop are doing a good job checkmating, while black is completely undeveloped. But okay, the game continues. And at this point, white is again winning, but only if he finds a specific move, bishop d3. And this should end in checkmate. This threatens checkmate on h7. Black's only chance is to move the rook, but now f7 is hanging, and after this there is no way not to get checkmated, because after this is checkmate because of the rook, and there is just no one to defend the h7, so it's game over. Again, understandably white saw the capture on f7, but it wasn't the best move. This is why before making any move we need a few candidate moves. We cannot get fixated on whatever our intuition tells us to do. We have to think for ourselves. Bishop f7 is a big miss. Black for some reason takes here. So clearly he should just go here, and for the moment white cannot threaten checkmate, so black might be okay. But here white brought his last piece to the game, and this should be checkmate again. White has an exchange up, and also he's attacking the king, so this ended quite simply. Queen b5 defends from rook e8 for the moment, but that's not enough. And after rook f8, this is checkmate in one. Black didn't really have much to do. For example, here white can even deflect the queen with c4, but simpler is rook fe1 to play rook e8 next move, and checkmate will come. After this is checkmate. So there was not really a lot of takeaways here, but white should really consider more captures and checks and attacks, threats of checkmate, stuff like this. Starting here, the game should have ended right here and now by just taking a knight. We cannot get fixated on whatever we're planning here. Every move should be a new exercise which we have to solve.